Hi everyone, and welcome. This is lesson 3 in our series on how to make a U.S. Air Force Chief Flight Surgeon badge. The interesting part about this section is that it is probably the easiest one of them to do. It starts off with a simple plaque and a lamp of wisdom and a more interesting symbol entitled the Rod of Asclepius. I'd like to thank everybody for subscribing to our channel, hitting the like button, as well as the bell, so that they can be reminded of when new videos come out. And of course, I'm greatly appreciative of those who have donated and contributed to the cause by buying me a cup of coffee. Thank you so much. So, let's get started. As we look at the design, we start to see the individual items that we need to create. The plaque, the lamp with its flame and base, and the handle, and of course, the snake and the rod. The approach I use when creating the plaque is, first of all, I know it needs to be symmetrical. And I know there's no way that I can draw both sides, the left and the right, to be exactly symmetrical. So I draw the left-hand side vectors, go into the node edit mode and smooth out the ones I want to have more smooth. Hit the S key. Of course, I always use the fit curves to vectors to reduce the number of nodes. Now I need to be able to transfer it over to the right hand side. I click on my vector, hit the Shift, Control, and H key. We have it copied horizontally. I then join them, the bottom at a common point and across the top with a straight line. Now I know my shape is symmetrical and in the correct position. I offset that inward because I want to be able to use a 2-rail sweep. I can adjust the contrast of my picture simply by clicking on it, choosing the object property, and adjusting the contrast or lightness so I can see what I'm working with. And if I'm happy with the position of the vectors, turn off the image and try our 2-rail sweep. Select my outer vector, hold my Shift key down and select the inner vector. Of course, I need to go into the icon where it says a 2-rail sweep. I'm going to use those as the rails. And I'm going to have the fill area checked because I want the center part to have a component as well, not just the edge. Placing my shape around the rails guarantees that it won't be distorted. The distortion comes because the outer rail is actually longer in length than the inner rail. So imagine an engine or train running down a track. Both the left and the right wheels have to be at the same place at the same time. And this little trick, by adjusting and placing the profile exactly where you want it, will guarantee that there is no distortion. Once we're happy, we simply hit apply. And there's our plaque. The only way this could be easier is if you happen to find something within the clip art library that you could use. Now we move on to the next design element, the snake and the rod. Again, just simply drawing vectors. I'm going to use the extrude and weave for the snake. So I have a center line vector running down the length of the snake itself and one running vertically for the rod. Choose my center line of the snake, hold my Shift key and choose my rod vector. Those are the rails I'm going to use, and I choose my first profile, a rather large arc, and I could use multiple size arcs to make the body of the snake become smaller and smaller. For the rod, I use a very flat type arc because I'm really not going to be using this part of the extrude and weave, but I need to have the snake undulate over and under. We have it set to merge, simply why we can't see it. We can hide our plaque and examine our end results of the snake and the rod. I like the undulation of the snake. I think that's going to work. The next step would be to actually create the rod itself. I have my closed vectors, and it's going to be a slightly rounded shape, not too round. It's going to be set to merge. No limit, and hit apply. This is where you play with the numbers, adjust the scales up and down so that our original rod is hidden by our second rod. But you don't want it too much in height because it will then go past the snake itself. There's a fine balance of what needs to be done. I have my snake as a separate entity and the rod. I can go back into the properties of the snake and adjust either the shape height or the base height. So that initial rod is there. It's just hidden by our second rod. It's a rather easy approach to creating this. The next step is just the head. It's a closed vector and a rounded shape. We're going to need to set it to merge and adjust the height. It's not complicated. Simply it starts with drawing good vectors with the least amount of nodes and adjusting the properties of the components. When you're happy, hit apply and create a new component. This time I have two circles drawn. One for the eye socket, which will be a dish component. We'll set this to add. And another smaller circle for the eyeball itself. The tongue is just again a closed vector following the shapes that are on the badge itself, adjusting the base height or shape height. And there's our snake and rod. If we're happy with it, we can close out this window. Of course, I'm going to make a copy of the visible model. You've seen me do this now several times. And of course, I try to remember to name things correctly. Sometimes I don't always. I'm going to turn off the other components. I start with the first two and realize, wait a minute, I could just simply right-click on the snake and say, I only want to see that one. A far easier way to shut off components. Let's see how it looks with the plaque. I think it's good so far. Move my base up a little bit so that it's underneath the snake. This helps me keep things in order, logically, at least to my logic. The next and last part would be the lamp of knowledge. Again, just some simple closed vectors and some component shapes. We'll start with the flame. Go to the Modeling tab. Choose our Create Component icon. A simple rounded shape set to merge. Click OK or Apply, and then create a second component. There's 5 parts to this lamp, each one being an individual component. And they're all the same shape, a rounded dome. The body of the lamp, again, is just a closed vector with a rounded shape. As well as the handle. But the handle is going to need to have some special treatment. I can't quite get it to blend in nicely with the body of the lamp itself. I try adjusting the shape of it, I try adjusting the base height of it, and I just can't get it to do what I want. So, for me, the best answer would be to simply fade it from right to left so that the left-hand side blends nicer with the body of the lamp. This is part of the success of creating 3D models, is knowing what tools you have available. I can also uncheck the box so that component I'm working on is not as visible. I can actually see it a little bit better. I take the handle and the component and click on the sculpting tool. Of course, they're going to need to be baked together, and I'm okay with that. And I'm going to just use the smooth tool to ever so slightly smooth out that edge of the handle where it meets the body. Now I know a lot of this lamp will be hidden by the snake and the rod, so I don't have to be so perfect about it. Really, the most important thing of the lamp is the left-hand side and the right-hand side where the handle is. And there's our lamp. I turn on my base to take a look at it. Can't see the lamp, so let's select those individual parts and group them together. I want to group them just in case I need to make any changes to the base or shape height. I'm going to still keep it as merge, but I'm going to increase the base height. I may have been able to simply change the component property to add, but I wasn't so sure about how the snake in the rod would react. So, keeping it at merge, I can guarantee that there won't be any problems. So let's take a look at how the snake looks. And we're okay with it. As you could see, as I've mentioned earlier, this was probably one of the easier sections of this design to make. Simple shapes, but thinking through each one individually. Part of the process of learning how to do this is knowing your tools, what you should use and what you could use, and the end result. Being able to anticipate what it will look like once you hit the OK button. And there's the end result. Our next lesson, to finish this off, will be dealing with the top star and the ribbon. That'll be lesson number 4. Stay tuned. I hope you're working along with me on this project. I'd love to see how you're making out. Send me an email or post some pictures. It would be great to see. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about the software, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click on the bell to be notified of our next video. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email, mm@mezalick.com. I'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Enjoy.